Hello everybody, this is Cyrus here back with another video. In the past I've done videos on all kinds of vintage toy trucks as well as collectible model trucks on my channel. So what I decided to do a Hess truck video for today. I actually do collect Hess trucks. I have done a few videos on my TikTok channel, but this is my first one that's going to be going on to YouTube. So this one's very special for that reason. But it's also special for another big reason. So for today's Hess truck, we're going to take a look at the 2003 Hess truck in race cars. This is absolutely a mega behemoth when it came to Hess trucks that were being released around the early 2000s. It's really massive. But aside from that, what's interesting about this truck was this was actually how I discovered about the Hess trucks in the first place. So, backstory, back in 2017, or the winter of 2017, I was at a Value Village checking out, the pegs for anything interesting. And then I come across this cab over 18-wheeler, same one that we're looking at here. And what's notable is, if you've watched my TikTok channel, you know that I like collecting cab-over engine trucks like this. So I see that, and I'm thinking, that's pretty cool. So I went ahead and bought it. It was beat up and yellowed, but I didn't care too much. And then about a year later, in 2018, just before winter, I believe it was November at the time, I was checking out this one channel on YouTube, and there was this one video where they were reviewing a bunch of these Hess trucks, and I wasn't too familiar with this at the time, and I was guessing I could tell that it was probably some sort of collectible truck series or special edition truck series. And then I'm looking at the trucks that they're showing, and then they had the Hess gasoline logos on the side, and then I'm thinking back to that cab over 18-wheeler that I found at Value Village, and I'm thinking, so then I go to my shelf, pull it off, and sure enough, it said Hess gasoline on the side, and I'm like, no way. So then I started to get into collecting Hess trucks after that, and I was actually hoping to also see if I could try and find a version of that same 2003 truck, but in a little bit better condition than the one I first found. So I managed to get this off of Amazon, mint condition. The box art is the same on both ends. And what's interesting to note is you have your two cars in the back of the truck, but then you have the same two right there following behind the truck. So that's kind of a little bit unusual. I'll flip it around. Same art. Back of the box. Front of the box. And without further ado, let's get this truck out and get a closer look. And I went ahead and opened it up already because I didn't want to struggle with the styrofoam trays that the truck was being held in. So, starting off with chrome details, you have your chrome bumper and grille on the front as usual, as well as those chrome pieces you usually find going above the windshield on truck cabs. Your chrome mirrors, grab handles, chrome steps, fuel tank, exhaust, and hubcaps. Chrome lining on the trailer, as well as some chrome compartments. And then at the back, you also have a chrome bumper. And of course, it's symmetrical on both. All vehicles are usually symmetrical, so it's going to be the same chrome on both sides. Hess logos, you have your Hess on, well, technically underneath the grille. Hess badge on the door. One on top of the cab. Hess gasoline on the trailer. And then two Hess logos embossed on the two doors at the back. An interesting thing to note with some of the details on this truck is actually that window right there. Obviously, this is going to be most likely a sleeper cab, because since this is a race car transporter, you're essentially traveling from town to town, city to city, where there's racetracks, which means you're going to be on the road 24/7. So if you need to pull over for the night, you're going to want to have a sleeper cab connected to the trailer. Now, in terms of the lights, which we'll get into later, the only feature that's present on this truck is letting the two race cars out the back. Now, the way you do this, these are referred to as barn doors when you find two individual opening doors on the back of a box truck like this one. So you open those two doors. Try and open them carefully. And then you pull out the first car, or the ramp with the first car on it. And then you can drive it off. Well, sort of, because the only issue is it's a pullback motor. Then you pull your next ramp back, drop it down, push it in a little bit so it's level with the first ramp, and then pull your second car out, and you're ready to drive off. So very rich in terms of play value when it came to letting the two cars out of the back of the truck. The only downside is remembering that this is 2003. It's a shame that 17 years later, Hess ends up doing the ambulance, and they don't have the same play value. Instead, you just get a drop-down ramp. And then you can roll your rescue vehicle out of the ambulance. So as for the two race cars, we'll look at those next. I'll get the bits of packaging off of these very quickly. In terms of comparing the two, these are like Indy 500 race cars with like those open cockpit, or not a cockpit, open cab design, where you have the centered cab for just one driver. They're both inverted colors, but what's interesting to note is that there's a drastic difference between the two that's worth noting. You have this white piece here, but on this one, instead of green, it's black. And essentially, you can pull your car back and watch it zoom forward. I only pulled it back a little bit, but look how far it's going. I kind of like the green one a little bit better, just because there's a little bit more color being used. So I'll grab the other car now. I'll close this up, push the ramp in, and then we're going to turn off the lights so you can see the truck and the two race cars with their lights on. Alright, there's the truck's lights. Let's get the race car's lights going. Where are they going? Yeah, there's batteries in there. Just can't see it right now. So, there's the first race car. Second race car, we'll get them going. And I just realized now that, let me try this again. There, now we got it working. At first I thought the batteries in the green car were dead, but it was just a malfunction with the light system. So obviously it's an older toy, so these lights are going to tend to be a little bit more orangish. You do have your lighted Hess logos, two lights on the side, which are meant to be your headlights. And surprisingly, though, race cars don't really need headlights or tail lights. You do have a tail light back there. And focusing on the truck itself, your Hess logos are obviously going to light up, as well as your front headlights, but there's some bottom turn signals, running lights across the roof of the cab, and then some smaller red lights going across the trailer. And then you have a lighted interior for when your cars are in. Your tail lights and turn signals at the back of the truck. So when you need to pull into a truck stop for the night and get some rest, then you have your lights going, as well as your turn signals. So other than that, that covers just about everything with this review. I'll get the lights turned back on, and then just about wrap up the video from there. So that just about wraps it up for this Hess truck video. Turn the lights off now. In terms of my opinions, when it comes to Hess, they have done a lot of race car transporters in the past. This one would be probably one of my favorites. This and the 1997 would both go down as my favorites up until 2022 when we got the hot rods, which I'll have a video coming up soon, hopefully. So both this and the 1997 would become my second favorite as of right now. I mean, I kind of like them equally, but if I had to pick one out of the three or two, because if I had to pick between either this and the 1997 or the hot rods, I'd probably do the hot rod one. But definitely, this was a really good piece. It looks really rugged. The cab is obviously a generic cab over, but it is convincing enough, in my opinion. It looks like it could be close to real, in my opinion, so that takes the cake for me. And definitely, if you're collecting some older Hess trucks and you don't have this one, this is one I recommend picking up. Until then, I'll see you in some more videos very soon. You have a good, safe rest of your day, guys. Bye.